So, welcome, Reema. For those listening, this is Reema Dhaliwal. She is a student of interior design here in Kelowna, British Columbia. She is actually the inspiration for this entire career counseling interview series. For those of you who don't know, it was 5, 6, 7 weeks ago. Sometime in early September, she had just randomly commented on one of my posts on Instagram, or messaged me or something, a comment or message, what have you, and said that I should look into doing something like this. And so I had already had it in my mind, like, maybe I'll do something like that. And then this outreach from a total stranger actually was the little shove I needed to get over the hump and get these little series of career interviews on the go. And so, if you've been watching along and enjoying these, you can thank Reema here for your entertainment over the past little bit and well into the future, hopefully. Reema, welcome. Thank you for doing this with me here today.
Thank you.
So as we kind of kickstart off, how would you describe yourself and your role to a total stranger at a party, say?
Okay, I would say hi, I'm Reema. I am an interior design student and I'm very creative. I love making art. I love sort of critical thinking and just like taking on challenges and really just like focusing on how we can design a better future.
Okay.
Yeah.
Tell me a bit more about that.
Okay, so when I started off in interior design, right, I was like, okay, there has to be more than just making places pretty. And then the more I started looking into it, it's like, okay, well, there's all these things around eco-consciousness and then also just our own well-being in terms of like mental health and physical health, all of that. So yeah, that's what I think like is a big basis of what I do on a day-to-day, is just kind of observe what people need and then what the earth needs and just put into a project.
Okay, so what the earth needs, what people needs, and then using your creativity to find a thing that satisfies both of those needs or wants.
Yeah, and then also just looking into aesthetics as well, right? Like making them according to like health and wellness, all that stuff. But then what's gonna look good and be timeless, right? So we're not just like, putting stuff in and then just getting rid of it. It's just like, what's gonna stick with you and carry you through the future.
So is there a certain style that's timeless? Like,
yeah, people will say like timeless design, and then that sort of kind of refers to creating like structures of buildings like to be like substantial, right? Like it's gonna take you through hopefully decades and longer, hopefully, but it's like, so you are creating a nice strong base, but then you can swap things in and out. Like it's like when you have a closet, like you want to have nice staples, right? And then accessorize. So then you have more longevity. And then, so you want to do that with a home or a building as well. You want to have like nice base features like walls and flooring and just like everything that's kind of structural to be a bit more long lasting and durable. Whereas like we can work things in and out of a project over time, right? Like furniture, stuff like that can be like swapped out.
okay.
Yeah.
When you'd said timeless, my mind was going to something where, the design hasn't changed much since like ancient Greece or Egypt or ancient China, like something that stood the test of time. But in design, like you mean it as like building with like durable materials, so like the flooring that goes in, it's gonna not need to be replaced for decades potentially.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay.
It's like you could do it in certain aesthetics and stuff too, like how the Greeks, like their architecture is beautiful to look at even now, and but yeah, it's like about standing the test of time mostly, and it's like if certain clients, like if they know, oh, I'm just going through a phase right now, I really like this Roman design, but it's more of a phase. It's like, okay, but you might want to like switch out all the arches and like 10, 15 years once you're over it. Like you might get bored of it. So it's kind of just really working with someone and being like, hey, what things are a bit more true to your nature, true to your style, versus what things are a bit more, you'd want to swap them out.
Okay.
Yeah.
have Reema's phone here as our little question device. So, what was your upbringing like? How did you come across to interior design?
Yeah, so my parents were always like the most hardworking people, right? Like, kind of just going back, like even my earliest memories where they were working really, really hard. So I think I just kind of took that on. And then like seeing my dad do all this physical labor, that really inspired me to be like, hey, like, get out there and do some work. And then, but seeing my mom who like, she had injuries like a while ago, so then she was at home for a lot of it, right? She was doing business from home, and then that kind of showed me, okay, like you can make money when you're at home. And so she was doing like different stuff kind of throughout her time, but for the most part it was Indian clothing wear, right? And then over the last few years when she started doing more hand painting on the clothing, that's when we were like, okay, like we're getting a different clientele now, like let's just try to scale this. So it kind of just showed me you can create a narrative and really put your heart and soul into something that means something to you, and that is considered work as well. So it's like I have like that physical labor from my dad, and then like this business kind of stuff from my mom. And then I'd say someone who pushed me a lot like growing up would be my brother, because he's like very opposite to who I am, and he's a bit more like type A leaning, whereas I'm more type B. And he was always the business guy, right? And I was always the creative. And so he would kind of present these ideas, but him being more logical and like he cared more about like the financial, economical, sort of like manufacturing stuff like that. I would just kind of think, okay, but it's like all about the marketing. And then so when he would have problems and just be like, hey, this is not the right idea, I would still keep thinking about those ideas and be like, well, you could do this, you could do that, and I just keep thinking about it. So I'm like, I guess it's a mixture of everyone's sort of personalities and then like what they do that really inspired me to, have my freedom in working on a business, but also getting out there and just like meeting people and just, really doing that physical element of it. And yeah, just like really pushing through, and like they've showed me a lot about like sacrifice and what it means to work hard. So I think I've had like really good role models in my life.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, so your parents, your brother,
Yeah.
culminating into who you are, leading by example, and it sounds like you really picked and chose too, like out of your, like with your father's work ethic.
Yeah.
Like you took the work ethic from him, but perhaps not the physical nature of it. And from your mother's side of things, some of the business side of her striving, her creativity. What about her didn't you take?
Oh, okay. I think what I didn't take, it is still a part of me. Like I think she has a bit more of a tough time kind of understanding like what's right for her, right? Like she'll kind of think, oh, like what are people going to want and all of this, and she gets kind of confused about what's gonna work in her business, because she's thinking about like everyone, whereas for me I feel like I'll have a general sense of like, okay, if this is my style, I know that I'm gonna do this, and there are gonna be people who will follow along, and they will also appreciate the work for what it is. Like sometimes her and I have to have these conversations of, you know what, you just have to like let go a bit and just like try things out, and just do what you're passionate about, right? Like don't always think what others will think of your work. Just keep practicing, just keep testing the waters, and then if it works, it works. If it doesn't, it doesn't. So I think I have a bit more of that experimental side to myself.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. It's the creativity mixed with some experiential or experimental or the acceptance of uncertainty.
Yeah, I would say she like ruminates in her thoughts a bit more, whereas I'm like, if I have an idea, I'm just gonna try it out right away and just like, go show it to people, go talk about it, like, ask my friends, what are your thoughts on this, whatever, right? And she's like, oh, I'll just hide that one in the sketchbook.
Okay.
Yeah.
And then your brother has a quite a business savvy mind, but more so towards like the numbers and the structure, I suppose, of the business.
Yeah.
But like not so much the creative component.
Well, he is very creative. I think it during like those earlier years, it took him some time because he did real estate, all of that, and I think that was truly a bridge over. At the time, it was like, yeah, that's so you. But like now looking back, it's like that seemed like a bridge over to where he is now. I think he's just the type of guy who's like, I need my business to be something that's very true to me, and then like also what I want to share with the world is gonna be stuff that I'm actually good at. Like he doesn't want to fake his knowledge about stuff, so he found his path. Like he does personal training, and that's like a business, model that works for him. And I mean, like I actually really appreciate how creative he is in his business. Like I honestly didn't know he had it in him to market himself like that, but I think that's the thing. Once you find your purpose and like what is worth it, like you're gonna kind of stretch beyond what you're comfortable typically doing.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So yeah, your upbringing really set you up then for where you like. Would you say that it is the key thing that's brought you where you are, like these support systems in your life, these role models, or other things?
I'd say it's a big part of it because I've always been like really well resourced. Like when I was a kid, my parents put me in all these extracurriculars, and they just like, they always gave me so much, so I was always comfortable. So I think that's a big part of it, having that time to really explore what I want to do and just like be creative in that sense. And then I think there's that, but I think there's also, it's not like I'm always with them and then I'm always trying other things. So I would give a lot of the credit to like colleagues, and then just like, whatever, like when I think of like certain projects I've done or certain things in my life, I always kind of think what was going on in my life at that time, and then who was I kind of around, and like what influences were there, and it ends up being kind of like, a mixture of just everyone a part of that sort of phase.
Okay.
Yeah.
So you draw resources, it sounds, from the people in your life and the people who you surround yourself with or who are with you in that moment in time or that project.
Totally. Yeah. So
like
when I look
human
back,
connection.
100%.
Yep.
When I look back at like my time in Victoria, I'm like, oh, these friends were supporting me so much. My aunt was supporting me so much, right? And like it all kind of leads to success because it's like, well, you took this off my plate so I could do this. Like, I appreciate those things so much, and I'm very mindful of like, all it kind of takes to do what you want to do. Mm-hmm. So I always thought of it like that. And then even like now, right, like I have such a strong support system with my family, but then also my colleagues and my instructors and the people who are guiding me through that time, right? Like so just a mixture always.
Okay.
Yeah.
Great. With your younger self, very supported, going through life, learning some of these things, some lessons from your father, mother, brother, some things to do, some things perhaps that you'd like to do differently. What was a challenge that you encountered along this path? Perhaps when you were younger, maybe around the age of 12, give or take a few years.
Yeah.
Like a younger, not a child, but not an adult yet. Was there any big challenges that you faced?
I think that like they're a bit more structured than I am. Well, now I'm a bit more structured, right, as I've grown up a bit more. But back then I was very sort of like, I was just having a bit more fun with things, and they were a bit more like, scheduled people, just very sort of like they had a different timeline, I'd say. And then for me, I was kind of like, oh, I'm just playing around, I'm having fun, and just testing the waters. Like I said, I was
oh, sorry.
That's okay. I can like start that answer over if that'll be easier.
No, well, it's up to you.
Yeah, that might be easier.
Do you mind getting that light right down there by your feet?
Yeah, where is it again?
Just pull that cord kind of towards you. Yeah.
There we go.
Thank you very much.
Yeah. I'll also turn a bit because I don't know if my hair was covering my whole face that whole time.
Okay.
What was the question again? Oh, that, how were they different? How was that different?
A challenge that you encountered growing up. And as you're learning these things about yourself, some of your values, derived from your close relationships, the examples that some of these people were demonstrating to you, positive and maybe not so much negative, but things that you would like, okay, I'll do that a little bit differently. I'll explore it in this route perhaps instead. So as you're growing up and finding out these things about yourself, what were some of the challenges?
I think that people in my life just always kind of had like this set of things that they were just comfortable doing, right? Like they were more scheduled, they had their things, whereas I was just always kind of like exploring different things, right? Like I said before, I was doing music, I was doing art, I was like playing sports, I was doing like all sorts of things. So it was like my interests were like, there were a lot of them, it just, I wasn't like an expert at something, and I think that the way my family is a bit more so like their personalities are more so find something you're good at and just be an expert in that, right? And I'm like, I just like learning a little bit of everything and then bringing it together. Yeah.
So the challenge then was almost, was it too many options, or was the challenge like a pressure as you were experiencing all of these things, enjoying it sounds like most of them, and the challenge was that you had this external pressure to, you gotta pick just a one or two of those, you can't have them all like you do now.
Yeah, I think to an outsider it might kind of be like, oh, like why don't you just keep doing this, like you're so good at it, like for art for example, right? Like I grew up being like painting and like making art, right? Like, and that was something at a young age my parents got me into. I was learning from a professional artist, right? How to paint, how to draw, how to do these things. So even when relatives would come over, they would be like, wow, these are so great, like, just make a career in art, all of that. But I'm like, the thing that is different about me is that I'm a little bit good at a lot of things, right? So it's like I would always want to keep exploring a whole lot of other things, whereas I think I was around people who, if they're good at something, they're like, yeah, you're right, I'm gonna lean into that, right? So I think that can kind of be confusing to an outsider, like, oh, why are you not doing something that you're so good at? But it's like, it wasn't in the way that I could, like I never felt like, oh, I need to be a professional at this because I'm good at it. It's like I'm good at like a lot of things, I'll see how I can bring it together. I kind of always had that vision that, it's all gonna lead to something that's gonna be more of a collection of things than just one sort of direct path.
Okay.
Yeah, and then also like later on, as like, a lot of people know, my path was a bit more untraditional. It was like picking up some knowledge from here or there and then like whatever, right? So like even with school, I wasn't the traditional go to school, get your degree, and then you're out of there, that's it. It was like playing around in different degrees and then just like taking whatever I could for what are those called, like those filler electives.
Yep.
Right? Like I take like all sorts of philosophy, astronomy, like I want to try everything. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
It sounds very much so aligned with your experimental nature that you commented on with your mother's, that your mother doesn't have so much of that, but that you really grew to appreciate that about yourself, this experimenting around, dipping your toes in various things, and maybe taking longer than most people to settle on something. Not that is like good or bad, but just it is you.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay.
Yeah.
And so you find yourself as a student of interior design. Would that younger self that's bouncing around, that is enjoying all these various activities, excelling at them even, would that young girl be surprised that you finally picked something that you seem to be settling into and committing to it, or putting your roots into a little bit deeper than normal?
I don't think she would be like completely surprised, because like, even though I was always sort of thinking, oh, like, what about this career? What about that career? I was always kind of thinking like that. I always kind of knew that whatever I would end up doing would be very sort of purposeful, in the sense of like, it would have this element of being therapeutic to others, and I'd be connecting with others while doing something that's like, it includes like a lot of research. So, you know, it was always sort of like fields like being a doctor or a lawyer or something like that too, right? Like, I would always sort of imagine every sort of part of it, right? And then I'm like, hey, not for me, not for me. And then it just started like weeding down a bit more, right? Like, okay, maybe something a bit more creative. Okay. But yeah, like, I think that there are certain things about the structure of interior design that I've always sort of known. Like, I wanted to have something that's more creative and more like you have freedom, but I always wanted that sort of sense of like, no, but these are the rules. Like, you have to follow like exact sort of rules, and like really have those parameters in place. Which is why I thought like, you know, like being a doctor, for example, would for some reason be a part of that. Like, that was me being like, okay, like this is very like strategic and rule based, like whatever. Like, I was drawn to that, and then like with law and stuff like that, I was like really drawn to those like tight parameters. But then yeah, I'm like, no, it has to be a bit more relaxed and give me that freedom.
Okay, so some sort of job where there's some almost like an iron core, or very solidified and stable aspect of it.
Yeah.
I'm almost picturing a tether ball or something with the pole, and you know, that being the framework of, you know, a floor can only take this much load if it's made of this material, or what have you, and there's basic rules that can't deviate too much, that you can learn and apply, and then but then you can exert your creativity when you knocking the ball around the pole, and there's a lot of creative movement there, and to make a building or a space any which way that you'd like inside of that set of rules. But,
yeah.
okay.
Entirely. That's completely it. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Interesting. So a part of yourself then, as you're growing up, knew you wanted something like that with a firm set of rules, but that would still allow you to express creativity around those rules. And so interior design came to you almost, it sounds almost as an uncovering, not like not so much a discovery, but an uncovering of, okay, well, it's not, you know, I've tried that out, I'm experimenting around, that's not for me. This like this a little bit, but not so much that, and kind of coming to where you are now.
Yeah, exactly. And like, I always sort of knew like there'd be a balance between being creative and how much felt real, because like I said before, like, I'm so known for art and, you know, just being creative, stuff like that. But there was something always sort of weird about being an artist who is charging money. Like, I just didn't like it very much growing up, like that concept. As I've grown up a bit more, I'm like, hey, now I have a better relationship with money and I understand it, right? But like, it just always felt kind of weird to me. And then even now, like, a lot of my art is kind of like hidden away, no one really sees it, and I wouldn't sell it. I don't really like know what the relationship with is. It's just kind of confusing. So maybe someday I'll get to something that's a bit more creative in that way. But I always kind of knew, like, if I want to do something creative, like with art and like, you know, do something like that, it would have to be like tattooing, or just like something where I'm like working in a set place where there's like set sort of like a structure to the process, right? And then yeah, like as I grew up, I realized, oh, design is so much like that, and there's so many fields like that. It just, I didn't know about them before. Yeah.
Okay. So in your journeys, you were able to discover it.
Yeah.
Okay. I know you already touched on it a little bit, just what you like about the job and why you're doing it. the blending of the needs and wants of everyday people, and then aligning those in a creative way with the needs of the earth in a sustainable fashion. What else do you love about your job, or really like about your job?
I really like collaborating with people. Like, I really like how you can work with people in whatever sort of field, right? Like, there's so much photography and like product design and just like even collaborating, right? Like, for example, like there's someone who reached out for a design consult, and then I like reached out to my friend and I'm like, hey, this seems like your style, like, do you want to go do it together, right? And then now we get to talk about it and like, explore ideas together. And it's like, I just love, like, you're comfortable in some ways, you're pushing the limits, but there's always sort of resources and people to like work with to get a better idea of like how can we make this really successful for everyone involved. I really love like collaboration, right? Like, yeah. And there's so many things that go into it, like art curation, I mentioned photography, right? Like photography, marketing, yeah, there's just a whole bunch of things. And then yeah, collaborating with people you never really would have expected to collaborate with, like, artisans and people from all sorts of corners of the world, right? Like, seeing how they sort of structure their days and like what their homes and stuff like that look like. Yeah.
Okay. So the collaboration aspect of it.
Yeah, I love it.
Is there any part of it that you don't like?
Yeah, I think sometimes collaboration, if it's not like the right fit, it could start feeling like a bit like forced maybe, and it's kind of like, okay, we're just doing this but we don't really have the passion for it in like the way it kind of started off, and it starts drifting off. Like, you have to really sort of be balanced in your communication and the energy that goes into the project, and it might not kind of end up where you initially started off, and that sometimes is okay, but sometimes it's kind of like, as long as like your values aren't really taking a hit, like, like one of my things, for example, is like I want to source things that are very sustainable and very sort of eco-friendly as much as I possibly can. But sometimes you'll be working with someone who is like, okay, well, this is a quick, easy option. I don't care about the research behind it. I just want to choose it just to get this thing moving along. And I don't know. I don't really enjoy that. I get everyone has like their part to play in a collaboration, but it's like if it was set at the start that we would try to be more, eco-conscious, for example, and then we start switching stuff like that up, I'm like, that's not gonna sit right with me. Yeah.
And so is that one of your strategies then, to try and mitigate against some of the things that you don't really appreciate that much about the field, is to lay out some of these values at the start of projects and say, hey, these are my big 3 important things, etc. That's like, what about you? What are your most important things on this project?
Totally. Yeah, and then like the more you do it, the more you realize like how to communicate those things, and then how to say like, okay, like, even though this is your sort of like thing to work on, like, how about if I take that over, you can do this instead, and like, you sort of figure out ways to balance it out and then communicate it in a way where like no one's really getting too offended, and they're just more open to, okay, you're right, like I would like some help with that, whatever it is. Like, I think it becomes easier to gear conversations towards like what you want the final product to be.
Okay.
Yeah.
Like, as you develop your sense of self, or who you are as a designer?
Yeah, I think it comes down to like how comfortable you feel kind of expressing certain things, right? And it takes a lot of practice. Like, I've worked with people who you can tell they don't typically stand up for themselves. They're a bit more agreeable. They'll kind of like, just take more of like a submissive role in the project. And then when it comes time to make some changes, they don't want to say something, but they're at the point where they have to, and they find it excruciating. Like, they find it so hard to do that. Whereas I feel like for a good while now I've been working on that.
Sorry, this is yeah, that light. It's not anything you did. This light, it's
Oh yeah.
like the bane of my existence. It's
Yeah, it's like
this thing here
yeah.
like blocks the motion sensor,
Yeah.
and there's no way to change it from motion to just being on like a normal light.
Yeah.
And so yeah, it's, I don't want to say it's funny, but often with clients we'll be here and just as we are now, and you know, I think it's like it has like a 15-minute timer, and it almost to the T. By around the 15-minute mark, you're normally pretty deep in the discussion for that day's session. And I think some of my clients that have been here long enough now know they kind of expect it, and it's not so jarring.
Yeah.
But for some of them, it's the first couple times. It's like, oh, like the lights.
Yeah.
But yeah, I wish there was something I could do about it. But,
yeah, I wonder.
But yeah, no. But sorry for that tangent. Okay, so yes.
Well, I'm a designer. I actually love these tangents of, you know, figuring out like, oh, a problem in my place is the occupancy sensor.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it wouldn't be a problem if I didn't put that shelf there. But if I didn't, I don't know where else I'd put that shelf. And like just as you said, for sustainability, they're there for sustainability to save power. So it's a quandary.
Yeah.
But yes, so the difficult part is, the part that you love the most about it is collaboration, and on the other side of that coin is also the kind of dark side to that, where if you find yourself collaborating with somebody else and then they end up not sharing the same values of yours, even though you've done your due diligence or done your best at the start to disclose, hey, these are my intentions, and they agree, and then perhaps down the road they flip and say, oh no, I'm valuing speed now at this stage in the game.
Yeah.
That tends to be the part of the job that you like the least.
Yeah, because then it also kind of is, you know, more so how are you going to communicate that with a client or something, right? Like, you know, if it's like a conceptual project, whatever, but like if it's like you're showing that to a client, and how are you going to justify that? Oh, we chose this because our personal timeline is this. Like if the client's like, rush this, then it's kind of like, okay, you know what, like we'll have to just have that conversation with them and tell them we would typically go along with like doing this research, going along with these products, but since we're kind of cut for time, like, you know, in our back pocket we do have this, here are the pros and cons of this, like whatever. But I think that's just the thing, is like, you know, it's not even so much that someone's becoming a bit more fast-paced during the project and they're kind of doing these things. It's that they haven't developed that sort of pocketbook of, you know, of resources to go to, so then if something like this happens, they know, okay, what's a good plan B, right? Instead of just choosing whatever, just out of thin air, right? Like, oh, I know about this thing, whatever. And it's not the best choice. Like, that's why I think you have to do so much of your own research and have like your own sort of like solutions, right? It's not like you're always going to be using those things, but it's like it's good to just have a knowledge of the field of, if this doesn't work out, then I can do this. If these products don't work out, I can go consult with this person. Like, I would expect, you know, someone to do that sort of critical thinking when we're working together.
Okay.
Or at least talk to me and be like, hey, I'm having difficulties in this section, like maybe we can talk about it, just so, you know, just so it's like things are moving along coherently.
Okay.
I don't like shady shit.
Yeah.
Okay. Baseline, I don't like when things get shady.
Yeah. So like, I know nothing about design or procurement of types of materials or anything.
Yeah.
But yeah, can you provide an example, perhaps, like that you feel comfortable with sharing, like of maybe a situation like this that happened and how you dealt with it?
Yeah, I think like I'll give like a very general idea of this is like if someone's like looking for a piece of furniture and then you just check like these stores that anyone can go to, but this is like a commercial project and you're just using something that's like very like I don't know, just like cheap and easy to get your hands on, right? Like if the client is like telling you, hey, I need this for like 10x years, whatever, um, and then we're just giving them an option that's like not as durable or something, like I would not feel comfortable with that.
Okay.
It's like, well, why are you hiring me? Why are you paying me all this money? Like, your Aunt Susan could have given you a better table suggestion at that point.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I don't know.
So is there like stores that I suppose would be accessible either only to designers or that only designers would go check out these stores where you could go buy like 50 tables or something in bulk and like they meet some sort of criteria for rainforest certified wood or that'll last for 10, 20 years, this table, like things like that?
Yeah.
Like not just like Leon's or IKEA?
Yeah, completely. Yeah, we've got one like right below us, like
Okay.
Office Hub, right on the
Okay.
corner there. Like they're great. They have great product, like really great companies and stuff like that, right? And that just the thing is like there's so many certifications, so many sort of specs in there that are just they're long lasting, and then they typically do also have like this program where it's like once you're done with the product, it kind of becomes like a circle of life for the products. Like you give it right back to the company, they'll take it and like fix it up or reuse it, whatever it may be. And that's the thing about these contracts is that when you have these good relationships with companies and then or just you're sourcing products that are like that, then it's going to be great for everyone in the long run. I know it's going to be a bit more of a cost up front, but there are so many benefits that come with it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Okay. And so you laid out then one of your values was sustainability. What would be two more? Would you say that's one of your top values, like top three?
Yeah, I would say it's in my top three.
What would be the other two in there?
I would say empathy would be one of the top ones as well. Just kind of thinking, okay, how if I were to hire someone for this process, how would I want them to show up for me? And so really building that trust that, hey, like I'm going to source the best products I can for you and really work with your budget and understand like what you are able to take on, and just like really understand the ins and outs of the project completely from my point of view, but more so from what the client expects from me, right? Like I love being in that position of being the person they're trusting with something so big. And then another value for me would be, I guess I kind of touched on it, like the trust and, but just like well informed. Yeah, like well informed as well. So like, for me, it's like, I want to be well informed about the client and be empathetic to them, all those things, but like I also personally want to know like if I get stuck somewhere in a project, who am I going to turn to for help, like and what am I going to do if this doesn't work out, and also just well informed about the diversity of like places, cultures, and like what people sort of expect like all around, and not just like, oh, I'm in this situation now I have to gather all my information. Like I will do that, but like just kind of having a broad view from the start, even in my free time, just kind of always refreshing my own sort of knowledge and learning stuff.
Okay.
Yeah.
So it sounds like the empathy is almost a like somewhat of a magnifying in, or really putting yourself into their shoes in a ground source level type of viewpoint. You highly value that.
Yeah.
But then this other aspect that you talked about, this was it well trusted or well resourced?
Yeah, like well informed.
But well informed.
Yeah.
Almost as a zooming out of that, and somewhat of like you and the client or the team are going along this path, and then you are a satellite or something kind of above, like looking out. Okay, what directions can we go in? Expanding your awareness that you can then bring in to that relationship.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, completely. And it's like, I think to check my privilege, it means to me like, you have a mind that works, you have like, you have like transportation, you have like all these resources, like you should be in that position of collecting so much that when someone brings something up to you, you are able to answer it and they can trust you, and that they would feel comfortable, they wouldn't feel nervous, oh, where's my 20K going, right? It's like, no, it's going to someone who actually knows their shit, they're gonna like really take care of me, right? So I think it's like what you said exactly, like it's zooming in and zooming out, and that's just something I do sort of like all the time. I'm like kind of doing a loop, right, in my mind, like am I conveying knowledge that they're understanding? Okay, so since we're on the same page, how am I going to like guide them? But if I feel like, okay, you didn't understand this completely, I want to stop there and be like, hey, well, let's just kind of address this. Like, what's the concerns here? Just because I don't want anyone to feel like there's ambiguity and just confusion throughout a process when working with me, right? Yeah, I want things to be super clear and just like easy, just nice, convenient.
So make the lives of your clients easy and convenient.
Yeah.
Okay. How as you're saying that, I was just thinking like the aspect of being well informed and knowing all these various areas of design and just everything that goes into that. How is AI playing a role in design these days?
Oh my gosh. AI is actually pretty cool in design. Like, I think it's great for coming up with like certain parts of like the design concept and like, sort of like the more paperwork stuff. Those things are great. I think it's also kind of great to, if you have questions and you're like, well, what does like the average person even think about this, like, right? So just typing in like, whatever your question is and getting all these answers, okay, like which one do I feel like applies most to this situation, whatever it is, like, I think it can really help you get better understanding of what your client's kind of going through, but then also how you can present certain things to them, to really convey that message. I think sometimes as designers you kind of have like a million thoughts in your mind and you're like, and we can do this and we can do that, and you just keep like rambling on about it and they're like, what, like, it might be confusing. So it's like, how do you really just break it down and just like make it nice and articulate, and then you can get more into the details. I think AI is really great for scheduling, really great for those like proposals and like that sort of schematic and programming side of things for sure.
Okay.
Yeah.
Interesting. I'm trying to think what my next question was. I've been going off the cuff a little bit. I'm kind of generally trying to like fit to the cuff.
Yeah.
Discussed your values, some of your upbringing, what you like about the job, what you dislike about the job. Where do you see yourself going as time progresses?
I think that design is like just a nice little foundation for me, right? Like, I want to do all the typical interior design things, but I also want to, I just want to be so well diverse in experience and just try out everything, right? Like, I want to do product design, I want to do like my own artwork going up into certain places, and I want to explore taking breaks from like even doing big projects to doing more of like the budgeting and like the analysis in those ways, maybe even you know, kind of becoming a bit more knowledgeable about like manufacturing, stuff like that, and how we can, you know, make things that are a bit more local or like whatever it may be. But yeah, I think that there's just so many different things that you can do when you're in interior design, and yeah, like I mean there's so many options, and I don't even think for you know, right after grad even, I'm like, I don't even know if it's like I want to start thinking like, oh, I'm gonna do this, I'm gonna do that, and like I have reached out to certain companies, but at the same time I'm like, you don't know anything about what your life is gonna be like then. Like, you know, don't stress the future too much, because when you're in a field like this, it can take you anywhere. You never know, like certain conversations might lead you like to Europe, and you might just be doing something out there for you know, you just, it's so quick, and it's so like, it is actually very collaborative as well. Like people are very open to just like working with you and trying out new things in this field. So yeah, I don't really like think about it too much.
Okay.
I just know whatever it's gonna be like really fun. I also like, one thing I really want to do is like movie sets, and just like, you know, or creative direction, and helping out like fashion designers and stuff like that. So yeah, like I said, very broad, very yeah, there's so many different little things you can do, projects. Yeah.
It sounds like for you then the experimentation is still very much so ongoing, but now it is refined and defined to the field of design and all the offshoots of that you can pursue. It sounds like you're going to go dip your toes in each one of these as the years go on, and
hopefully
continue to refine deeper and deeper and deeper into it.
Hopefully.
Yep.
Yeah, that sounds great to me.
Okay.
Yeah.
Do you have any advice for someone getting into design? Or even just considering it?
Yeah, I think that, like, think about what you like about design, and think about like what type of design you want to do, right? Someone like me who started off thinking, oh, like this is more about like decoration, whatever, starts school and goes, oh, what am I doing making construction documents? And those just never end, right? And then I like actually do love it, so it's fine. But a lot of people are still like, are we ever gonna stop this? Like, no, we're not. And we know now that it's like so architectural, and so much like knowing about what engineers do, what like the trades do, right? Like all of that stuff. And I do love it, so I'm fine with it. But yeah, I would say like if you want to do more like decoration, know that there's like different routes for that. If you want to do design, like really understand, do you have the capacity to do it? Because, you know, I see colleagues who are kind of living on their own, doing their own thing, and it's harder for them, right? I'm very lucky, I live at home. My family takes really good care of me, so I can be working 24/7 kind of on projects if I need to be, right? So it is very time consuming at the start, but I would say that you know, as you practice, as you grow, as you sort of learn a better workflow, what works for you, things will get easier, and then, you know, you'll fit right in. But yeah, it's gonna take some hard work at the start, and if anyone is in the field and just kind of starting out, I would suggest, like, you know, no matter how busy you are, keep that balance. Like, you know, sometimes in hustle culture, you'll hear people kind of say, work-life balance isn't really a thing. Yeah, it still is. Like, you know, you don't want to be going mad because you're like, you know, you're only hunched over a computer all day just drafting away whatever you're doing. You don't want to be doing that. Like, get your exercise, eat well, see people you love, go do those things, because, you know, if you don't do it, you're gonna end up with like a dinosaur neck like me, right? Like, yeah, you wanna get out there and like do things, and, you know, be balanced, and you can afford 2-3 hours out of your day. You have to do it. Yeah.
So your advice would be to work hard and to recognize that there will be obstacles and friction points that makes maybe some construction documents perhaps that aren't really what people got into it for, but it's a part of the learning. Maybe after that you could branch off and not have to touch those as often.
Yes.
But it is a crucial part of understanding of the foundations to kind of go at these various areas of design and at least understand some of the fundamentals of them, but to push through that.
Yes.
And then it sounds like also to have some fun along the way. It's something that it comes up in counseling sometimes, but with people, like it sounds very akin to this anyway, with people and they're pursuing a higher goal into the future and can sometimes lose track of the present, and they become almost a slave to their future self, where their future self is very demanding and saying, you must do X, Y, Z from all out waking hours of the day in order to satisfy my ambition into the future, these goals. And exactly as you're saying, these people end up, if they truly become a slave to their future self, they end up missing out on lots of family events, really the things that add spice to life, hanging out with friends, pursuing passions, hobbies, things unrelated to these goals. And I don't know for sure, but I'm pretty sure that a lot of those people end up having some regrets about some of the things that they've missed along the way. Even though they might have attained that goal, there is this side of life that they missed out on that entire time. Some of them might be quite satisfied with that, but a lot of them tend to think, okay, I don't really look back on those years overly favorably.
Yeah.
So it sounds like that then, like what you're saying, though, is like have some fun along the way and enjoy yourself.
Yeah, and I get it. Like, there are going to be times where you're kind of working harder than usual, and like, it might be like, certain days you're kind of like only doing work stuff, and I get it. Like, I've done that for too long, and that's what kind of made me realize, like, even if it's a little bit of time away from it, like, it's really nice. It's really good for you to be balanced. Otherwise, like, you're not even going to be producing the greatest work. We sometimes think that, oh, I can't even, like, step away from this. It's, like, it's so demanding. Like, there's so much to do. But, like, we do things in the day, like, we're on our phone so much, right? And we're doing things that are kind of, like, as not as important. But, like, prioritize, like, yourself and, like, your good relationships and like like the people who fuel you, because like I just genuinely don't think that any of it will be worth it if you don't share it with people you love. Like you don't want to miss out on their lives just because you have so much going on with yours. Like I think that if you can start practicing that earlier on, like it's gonna benefit you in the future for sure. Yeah, we're always going to be busy people, but
Certainly. I guess it's there's a quote, I forget who the name of it, but it's love is for those who love the work. And the people who love design or counseling or what have you, it's an element of, there are hard aspects to the job, but you only get to love the job if you're willing to do those harder aspects of it. And sometimes they're hard, but they're not necessarily suffering while you're doing them. It's just, okay, this is going to take me XYZ time. It's going to take some energy, but maybe have a little bit of fun with it, or it's going to stretch my mind a little bit while I'm pursuing this.
And like I have something that's like maybe a little bit off topic, but not like completely. Like even if you're at that point in your life where you're working like a part-time job, like you're out there working somewhere where you're like, this isn't going to be like my like grown-up job, or like whatever, my future job, whatever you want to call it, like still kind of look at how can I take something from this experience, right? Like for example, when I was like in college, university, being a barista, you know, I always enjoyed it so much because I was like, okay, like this is what I think is good management, this is what I think is not good management, right? And this is what I think like a good employee does do, this is what I think a good employee does not do. And then, you know, like, oh, I love customer service, I really do. I don't like how this person is treating customers, right? You're constantly like, you know, observing and just recognizing things about yourself. And I think you can do that in virtually any job. Um, just even if you don't like the exact thing you're doing, just whatever you can take away from it. Just yeah, like just know that sometimes that's what it's about, and then you know, transform that into what you want to do.
Yeah, certainly. It seems very aligned with just in general, a growth mindset, or an open mind, or learning. Someone who appreciates learning. It's you get out of life what you tend to look for, and in that pursuit, it's when exactly in those examples that you described there, it's these situations where, you know, whether things are good or bad, or you know, supportive of goals or unsupportive of goals, it's like if you're looking at it in a certain way of learning, even if something's not very helpful towards attaining a goal, at least in that, at least directly, you might be able to learn something about yourself, or how you relate to other people, or just about the reality in general, and whether it's helpful or unhelpful. And if it is unhelpful, well, if it's helpful, great, you've learned something, it's pretty directly applicable. If it's unhelpful, it's like, okay, then you know that maybe that's an approach you won't try in the future. So in a way, even though these experiences aren't good, you've learned something which is generally good or helpful. So it's kind of like a win-win.
Yeah.
But it is simple, but it's not easy to adopt that type of mindset. It's like remembering to be like, okay, like that sucked. That really sucked, and I don't want to experience that again.
Yeah.
But you know, what did I learn from that? That's it's easier said than done.
So true. That's so true. Like there was a time where I started a job doing like sales, because I was like, okay, like I'm into business, let me try sales, right? It was not for me. It was not for me because like I'm more empathetic in certain ways, and I was like, okay, like I don't like this. Like, you know, it was door to door sales, like the position I started, and like, you know, the person I was with like made the person who opened the door start crying, and I'm standing there like, oh my god, can I give you a hug? Like
a tissue salesman?
And no. It was yeah, that would be great, right? But like I was like standing there like completely sort of shocked, and I'm like, yeah, this just isn't for me. I can sell other things, I'm not gonna be doing this. Right? But then I was still like kind of intrigued, right? Like the meetings were really cool, and just kind of going over like, you know, the structure of their days. Like I'm like, yeah, this cool, but like doing the actual thing, I'm like, I just like kind of knowing what you guys do, learning about it, but I don't want to be in the position of actually doing that, right? So it's like it showed me like, you know, it's a cool field for the people who are into it. Like, you know, they're very good at what they do. You know, that lady was definitely not sale, but like, you know, there were other people who were like, oh yeah, like, you know, just sign me up, whatever. But yeah, like it made me realize, okay, I'd want to work with these types of people here, maybe not these types of people. So I was kind of more so like at that point just watching like, oh, like he does this really good, she does this very good, right? He should not be doing that. Like every time I've seen him do that, like, you know, he didn't get a sale. So it just showed me so much about what the field is like, and then it's like, okay, if I'm working with people in sales, like what am I going to kind of keep in mind, especially if it comes to like working with them, right? Like collaborating with them, you know, what are some kind of things that I look out for? Yeah.
What is a typical day look like for you now?
Okay, a typical day is a bit more balanced now.
Yep.
Like, you know, I wake up with more sleep in my system, and yeah, I like, you know, kind of every day is a little bit different, but it's genuinely like structured in a way where in the morning I kind of have that flexibility. Okay, what kind of energy do I have for the day, and then how am I going to sort of set myself up? So if it's more of a lazy day, I'll kind of like, you know, really lean into that and just be like, okay, you need comfort today, like take this with you in your bag, and like, you know, when you're working, like sustain your energy by, you know, like going for a walk or something, like getting out and just like you know, because I can tell, like, okay, today my mind can only take this much. And, like, I guess it's like when you're portioning out food on a plate, you kind of know, okay, right now I can take, you know, a little bit of this, a little bit of this, but I'm going to need a lot of this, right? So I can kind of, like, understand that earlier on in my day. Do you want to do that now, or?
Oh, sure, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, keep talking.
So, you know, I'm a bit, like, better at doing that nowadays, and then yeah, just really understanding what my day is gonna look like. So yeah, I'll kind of go with the energy of it, and then, you know, dress for it and be comfortable for whatever I'm doing, and I'll always kind of, you know, force myself to you know, jot out what my sort of breaks are going to look like, right? Because I want to have productive breaks that are actually going to restore that sort of energy. If my energy is going to come from being social that day, and I kind of have that sense, okay, like I need some human interaction, I'll like try to plan something, or like my break might be going downtown and just like, you know, whatever it may be. If it's like, okay, no, I need a more independent day, my break will be planned as like, okay, you're gonna go to the gym at this time, and you know, come back and do this, whatever. But it's all sort of structured around like how much do I have to give to myself, to my work, to, you know, because my days are very long. They're typically like till midnight. So yeah, just kind of imagining what it's gonna be like until then.
So being really in tune then with your body, where your energy is, what's going to be a bit more of an energy suck, what's going to help replenish that up a little bit for you.
Yeah. And some days I might be like, you know, I try to still get like physical activity in there for sure now, because I'm like, you cannot keep going on like this. Like, I'm 25, I feel like I'm in my 80s. That's not okay. So, you know, I get physical activity in there, and then yeah, just like also my days are very well intentioned of how are you going to sort of meditate and be on your own and just like be in the present, but then how are you going to do things to make your life easier a week from now, a month from now, like, you know, just kind of really going back and forth between what I'm doing, but then also getting some stuff done. Yeah.
So it doesn't sound like it sounds like you're looking out for your future self, not so much that your future self is demanding that you do these types of things, but you're going about your day, okay, what can I do to make my future that little bit easier, or to go a bit smoother or efficiently, or just
Exactly. And I think that's the thing, is like, don't get so like wrapped up in like, you know, in a way where it's like you're not living right now, right? Because then you're gonna look back and be like, well, what was I doing that whole time? You know, I've done that before. I would go to school back in the day. I would go to school, I would come home, all I would do until I slept was figure out my plans for after graduation. Did I do any of those? No, I didn't do any of those, right? So it's like, why was I like so intense? Why was I so like anxious to the point where I was consuming all day, every day, right? And it's like, that's not healthy. I could have been hanging out with my friends. I could have been exploring the island. I could have been doing like all these great things with my time, right? And so it taught me a lot about, you know, look out for your future. Like, don't like, you know, don't do anything that's gonna like mess you up that you don't even make it to the future, right? Like, or you don't make it in the ways you want to be there. But yeah, just kind of be mindful that if you want this life later on, like, you're gonna have to do these things to do it. And like a practice I do now is like, you know, if I imagine what my life looks like at 35, right, or like even 30, I'm gonna start living like that now because I'm kind of getting there. And if I really want those things to work out for me, if I want to be healthy, if I want to be like someone with a good balanced schedule, like, I have to start living like that now to be really like good at it. So when I'm 30, that's just really easy to me, and then I can start working towards those bigger goals for the next chapter.
Sounds they're like almost exactly the same as what we were, like a general theme that's come up a couple times now, just like a core structure, something that's quite stable that you can aim at in the future. But you know, the way to get there, there's flexibility and creativity as to how you're going to get there. But you have this vision of, okay, I want to be a bit more organized and healthier. Kind of those are the stable points, and that's the vision. How I go about that, I will figure that out, experiment, have some creativity, you know, which has come up in your life pursuits, your career pursuits. This concept of, I guess, like almost like a North Star, and your ways of getting there. You're perfectly fine to meander a bit and to try different paths, all the while like you're looking up at that star every now and then and still aspiring in that direction.
Yeah.
This is something that's been quite stable in several aspects of your life.
Yeah.
And helpful.
Yeah, completely. Like, I've always kind of had a sense of like, this is like the path I want to go down. Yeah, I will look around, and yeah, you're right, like a North Star, I like that. And yeah, I think a big thing with all of that is understanding what you can control yourself versus like, you know, like life is always gonna like kind of throw things at you, but you know, like, do what's in your control, but don't be so intense about the things you can't, because once you get there, you know, you have to like trust your intuition, you have to trust yourself to know how to tackle those things, right? Like, don't hyper prepare for no reason. So I really like that analogy, and it's easy to visualize, like, you know, why are you worrying so much about things that don't matter completely, because then you're just gonna only look at those and you're gonna stray off your own path.
I'm trying to think, we gotta be getting close to the end of the questions here. Your typical day looks like for you. This one might be back a little ways, but do you have any controversial opinions about the field of design? And how did you arrive at that?
Is there a way you can ask me that question, just like kind of switch around the phrasing a bit?
Yep. So, like the controversial part?
Any part, just like so I can think of it differently.
Yeah, in terms of the field of design and the profession, do you have an opinion that goes against the grain, or that many people in the field would say, yeah, of course, like, we're just going to do it this way, that's the status quo, it's easy, it's been proven out, and whether it's in terms of designing, in terms of the culture that's established in a design studio, really any aspect of it where it's just, that's just the way it is. People kind of would use a phrase akin to that, like, oh, we're just doing it this way. If you ask them why, it's like, oh, well, that's the way we've always done it. It's proven out, it's easy. You know, 9 out of 10 people would agree that it's easy to do it this way, or simpler, or just more straightforward, or maybe not even have a reason. It's just that this is the way it's always been done. Do you have an opinion that challenges some of those things? And if you do, how did you arrive at it? Why do you think that your opinion deserves this challenge, or not deserves necessarily, but is a good contender with the status quo?
I think that in our field, a controversy will always sort of unfold once like you start talking things through. Honestly, like I don't personally right now know what I'm doing that is unique or kind of against the grain, and I hope like along my path I will find those things, because when I even think of something, I'll search it up, I'll find some answers, and then I'm like I'll just start digging deeper and I'll figure those things out. But it's all about knowledge and how you can access knowledge. So I do want to find some controversies, so then I have challenges to then dismantle and like figure out how I can take them on.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, I'm sure in your exploits, as you continue to pursue this, you're bound to find some status quos to challenge, and especially as someone coming in with fresh eyes, you're a young individual just stepping into your career. You're going to be the one or part of the group that end up saying, "Hey, why is it being done this way?" And if the answer doesn't satisfy you, you strike me as someone who is going to, pursue an answer until it satisfies you. With that said, I think we've spoken about your future direction. All the areas that you plan to explore. I think the last. I'm gonna pull up the questions on my laptop here, and I think I only have a couple more.
Yeah, sorry, my phone, I have it on the setting where it turns off after like
No, that's okay.
10
I
minutes
do.
or something.
I do as well. Let's see, where is it? Da, 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 da.
Yeah, I know. It's like certain answers, it's like I'm saying that, but then in my head all I could think is, well, actually, maybe if you just do this, or like, well, this company does it, and then I'm like, well, what am I saying right now? And then I start like solving the sort of things I was saying. But I think that's like the truest thing I could have said is like, there's just certain things that you think are a problem, but you see someone somewhere like figuring it out.
All right. So we're kind of getting to the end of this one here. Was there anything that I didn't ask you that you'd like to share?
I think that you asked me everything. I think I just would say this to really just, put it out there that, just try things. Like, just always try things, because that's what has worked for me, is just anytime I'd be interested in something, right? I would just try it out and see, does this fit with my identity, yes or no? And if it doesn't, it doesn't. Like, that's fine. You're never going to like look back and be like, well, why did I do that? Why did I even try it out? No, it's gonna tell you something, right? But if it works out, then you're so lucky that you did those earlier things. Like, for example, when I first kind of got into the field, right? Like, it was passed down to me, the program of like this online interior design thing. I was like, does this work for me, yes or no? And I want to sift through that answer like really quick. And so I went out, I just like, thought, well, how do I feel when I tell people I'm going to be a future designer? I went around the city just like, talking to business owners and realtors and stuff like that, and just being like, I'm future designer, like, and just like have those conversations and learn about the field. And it just made me feel so addicted to the process and like to all these elements that are a part of it. And I wouldn't have known any of that if I just like only did my schoolwork and that's it, right? Like, I know those things and they're so like true to me now because I went out and just challenged it and tried things. And so I would always encourage like, some action, just like do things, don't just think about them. You're not going to know until you try things. So, yeah.
So the value of experiential learning and getting out there, testing your readings and book learnings against reality, and that you might just find out a thing or two, or it almost sounds like you're saying there that there's a bit of a guarantee that you'll find something out.
I think so. Like, you know, I feel like whenever I go out there, I take something that's like really important from just getting out there. Yeah.
Yeah, there's not a lot of guarantees in life, but perhaps some sort of guarantee where if you go and contend with life and go out there with good intentions, perhaps maybe not even good intentions, but go out there and experience, you're guaranteed to have some sort of outcome. That might seem very seems very simple, but also somewhat profound at the same time.
Like, literally think of how funny it is. Like, a silly little simple like scenario for me is like, when I first started out, right, I like went clubbing, and I like ended up learning so much about, like, you know, how to put floors in, because like some guy started telling me about it, right? So I'm like, I wouldn't have known that. Like,
I was picturing like stomping and dancing on the floors, and you there like thinking, oh, this is a timeless floor, like they put in durable flooring.
Well, I was so early on, I didn't even care about like I didn't know too much about that stuff at that point, but I was like, you know, just talking to a group of guys who got to talking about like this kind of stuff, and they're like, oh yeah, like we're contractors, we do like this, that. I just started asking them. I learned so much from that one night of what I thought was just like a fun night out, going clubbing, whatever. But I came back with like all this like knowledge, and I'm like, oh, so this is what their job looks like, and like, you know, and then now I have contacts out in a city I don't even live in anymore, but it's like, you know, we're still kind of in touch, and I see, oh, they're doing some really cool work, right? But it's like, we also like have a connection now, so it's like, you never know like where you're gonna find cool connections or just like learn some stuff. Yeah, it's really awesome. Just get out there. Yeah.
Okay.
And just talk. Like, don't be afraid to talk to people, right? I think that's so important. I always tell like my colleagues and stuff, like some of them are a bit like newer to the game, a bit more like, you know, the only experience they sort of have is at school, whereas like I've done like some stuff outside of school, but like, you know, like the only sort of stuff they know is about like what people have told them. But I'm like, that's not how it is. You know, people like also move and interact in different ways. Like, you gotta get out there, you gotta kind of like know who you are when you're like talking to people, what kind of stuff you like talking about, and you're gonna come back with so much. Yeah.
Yeah, it sounds like it relates to that aspect of the part of projects where if these people are afraid to talk or to speak up for their own interests, then they get steamrolled or get into a sticky situation, perhaps once it's kind of too far down the road, and then they find themselves having to compromise on their values if they don't end up speaking up soon enough. Yeah, you have to build up that confidence, like in different parts of your life too, then like, you know, and when you're kind of like moving throughout your day in different places, whatever, like that confidence builds and builds. But you know, it's like, if you don't have so much experience in this department, it's like, okay, well, I had similar sort of like traits and qualities that came out when I was working on this with this person, I'm gonna apply them here. Like, just transfer your stuff over, and that's just what kind of builds you up as a person. So building up the confidence, you mean?
Yeah, you move through the world easier, right? Like, you don't feel this sort of like, oh my gosh, how am I gonna go there and like do this and talk to this person, right? Like, it comes to a point where you just feel like that's your baseline, like, oh, I'm gonna go do this, I'm gonna go do that, and like it's gonna go well, like whatever. You don't worry that like things are gonna go wrong, because you also have that experience of, if I don't know anything, I feel comfortable, like, you know, and confident, just being like, actually that wasn't like for me, or like, you know, or hey, I don't know much about this, like, can you just tell me, like, I'll just be a listener in this conversation. You just like learn how to say things and just like articulate it in a way where you can really show up how you want, and people just understand, and they're not gonna expect so much of you. And I think that's what we sometimes think when we get nervous about a situation is, oh, I'm gonna show up and everyone's gonna start testing me or something or whatever. Like whatever it is that's giving you anxiety, you're gonna realize like with that sort of exposure, you know, things aren't as bad as they seem in your head. Which is why I'm a big fan of exposure therapy. Yeah.
So you would say then, I was going to ask, like to somebody that is lacking confidence in aspects of design, or maybe just in general even, I feel like this would apply. It sounds like your answer would be to kind of have the courage to get out there and take some steps to be uncomfortable and, you know, realize on the other side of that discomfort that you're still here, you're still alive, your ego might be a bit beaten up, but
yeah,
you know, now you've learned something about yourself, and now you can move forward knowing that you can handle that discomfort.
1000%. Yeah, and you might come out with like a beaten up ego. Yeah, that's so true about it too, right? Like it's not always gonna go good, but it's like you're gonna build from it, and you know, it's like the more you keep like failing, the more you're gonna get up quicker and quicker. Like it's really like that. Like the more you fail, the quicker you realize, okay, well, I can just bounce back. You don't like dwell on it, and you don't just like, you know, you don't get stuck there. You just keep going faster and faster then. Yeah.
Okay. Just gonna zoom in here. Let's see. A couple more questions.
Okay.
Did you learn anything about yourself during this interview? And it's okay if the answer's no.
I want to say yeah, but I don't know if I necessarily learned anything.
Yep.
I mean, it could be a bit more philosophical than that, but you know, I'll say no for now.
Sure.
Okay.
So we have a little tradition on this podcast for as long as it's been going on. With these interviews, the past guest gets to set a pay it forward challenge to the current guest, you, based on their most prominent values. And so the past guest was Kellyanne Erdman. She was a 1992 cycling Olympian for Team Canada. She also was the team dietitian for the Calgary Flames for a decade or decade and a half. The team dietitian for several Olympic teams. She's quite a renowned sports dietitian, and she lives here in Kelowna. And the other week I was able to interview her, or have the privilege to interview her. And her values that she values the most, I'm just gonna pull this over really quick, where I can still be in the shot. The values that Kellyanne Erdman really values is being compassionate, being a good communicator, and then being educational, and so tailoring or tuning things so that way a wide swath of people, it's like lessons and learnings are attainable to them or accessible. And so her pay it forward challenge to you, and she didn't know it was going to you, it's totally discreet, and you'll get your chance to offer one up to the next guest as well. Hers is to introduce your passion, and so whether it's design or perhaps a hobby. I think that might have been a question that we missed, just going off, but just some hobbies outside of design and stuff, but we can kind of get into that a little bit as you discuss this. But so to introduce a passion of yours to a friend or family through an activity together or a discussion, and to be a good listener to whoever you're saying this to. And so as you're describing your passion to someone that you're close to and describing it in an accessible way, like if you're using lingo that is maybe only someone who's a student of design or in that field would understand, toning that down and tuning it, so kind of putting it in layman's terms. And yeah, really as your friend or person that you are sharing this with, this passion of yours with, as you're engaging in this dialogue and this discussion, being a good listener, and so reciprocating some of their energy, being intentful in that conversation, but just really having a good, deep conversation about a passion of yours with somebody else.
Okay.
Would you be open to, and I suppose you'll have to find someone who's willing to have it with you and ask. There's an element of you don't want to have to force them to listen to you for half an hour or an hour or what have you.
Yeah.
But yeah, would you be open to that challenge?
I would love that. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Do you have someone in mind?
I have a few people in mind. I think like when I was thinking about like different things, I would just think of like different people I'd want to try that out with. Right. Do you want me to share some?
Yeah, if you have a person or two in mind, like kind of, you don't have to commit to any of these people, but to make it a bit more serious.
Yeah, I think like doing some sort of like art therapy challenge with my friend who's kind of in a bit of a slump right now. Like I think that could be really good for her. And then I think being a good listener as like, you know, it kind of goes on, like, you know, if we do like a little session together, like just being like a good friend and just really hearing her out of what she's going through and just like you know, collectively making it through a process together, and then having a little like souvenir of that moment would be nice. And it could also be like, you know, playing like an art therapy session online or something, and then us doing it together. I think that could also be really nice if someone's like not in the place to really talk about something, but like, you know, it's like introducing a passion of mine to someone who she doesn't do like anything like this. I've asked her before, but I feel like that could be
Okay. So the ball's in your court for that one. I'm not going to check in whether or not you did it or not. But fate or destiny will know. Or karma or what have you. Something will know whether or not you did the challenge.
Okay.
But so now it's your turn though. So your values were was being well informed, empathetic, and sustainable. And so what challenge to the next guest would you like to leave that would demonstrate either all of those values, or perhaps highlighting one, the other two are on the back burner, or just highlighting one in general, and something like that, where they can you know, exemplify or strive to exemplify one of those values in their life.
Okay. Well-informed, balanced, and...
Is it well-informed, empathetic,
empathetic.
and sustainable?
And sustainable.
We can change it to balanced though, if that's...
I mean, they're all good.
I can give you the fourth one too. I can give you the
thanks.
fourth one. I'll let you have four, so.
Okay, so balanced, empathetic, sustainable, and well-informed. I guess my challenge to the next person would be how can you it turned out to be like very similar to the question that I just answered, so I'm like, wait, no, that's not very unique. What is something you want to learn more about in the world, not necessarily something that's like a daily thing, like, you know, self-care, stuff like that, like not necessarily something that's already a part of your routine, right? So like working out, you know, whatever it may be, like not something like that, but what's something that you're curious about in the world, and how can you balance that into your schedule now? So like say you're interested in learning something new, say it's like art, history, whatever. How are you going to include that in your day-to-day? And yeah.
So it sounds akin to what you're doing now, like as you're 25, looking to 30, you know, I want to be doing X, Y, Z when I'm 30, so what can I start to implement now to figure out the learnings that are going to come with that, work out the kinks, that way by the time I'm 30, I can be doing these things more smoothly. sounds something like that, like something that you're curious about. It's on the radar, but you haven't implemented it yet, or taken the steps to implement it for whatever reason. But this challenge is to do some research on it and see how you'll begin to implement that into your life.
Exactly. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Excellent.
Do you have something like that you kind of like, oh, I really wish I did this, but like, someday I'll get more into this interest?
Personally?
Yeah.
I'd say just living life a little bit, traveling perhaps, or doing more fun things. Like, this business consumes me and is much more of a time suck than I originally imagined it would be.
Yep.
And so it'll be nice. And so a lot of my life has been put on the back burner, and some of the things that I'd like to be doing, I don't let it totally stifle me. I still have my fun, but sometimes it'll be several weekends in a row of just head down and working on things. But it's like I can't wait till I can look forward to each weekend and have something fun planned.
Yes.
Because I have the free time and some money coming in to do it.
Yeah.
But I'd say that probably.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Perfect. All right. I think this is the end of our career interview.
Okay.
Thank you, Reema, for not only coming here today, but also for kind of sparking this entire thing off to begin with. I hope, if you're still listening, I think we're like an hour and a half in, or hour, something like that. If you're still listening, I hope you've gleaned some benefit from this. I hope you've learned that life isn't all just in books and reading. It's also, there's value in experimentation and going out in the world, and having a bit of courage to put your ego to the test. And it's not always going to be fun and games, but you'll definitely learn something when you go out and go out there and strive towards a higher goal. And it's not always going to be an easy path or a straightforward path necessarily, but it's going to be worthwhile, and you're going to learn something about yourself, and that's always worthwhile. Thank you, Reema, for being on the podcast or the YouTube video today. And if you're out there listening, I hope you got something out of it. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right.